Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. You already know Paul O'Sullivan has taken that business class from Britain. I believe it's British Airways. I did a video before and I told you guys there's a direct flight. I know there's a direct flight. Heathrow all the way to Cape Town, and Paul O'Sullivan made it in one piece. But somebody tell me, what did they do to his glasses? Why are his glasses cracked? I mean, this is a man who told us, these are not my words. I am just simply quoting him. He told us that he is a significant taxpayer. So somebody tell me, why is our significant taxpayer seated inside Phakathi within the ad hoc committee and his glasses are cracked? Let me tell you something. Paul O'Sullivan did a thing this morning and he decided, well, he submitted his affidavit, or should I call it a sworn statement? Yes, it's a sworn statement. He submitted his sworn statement, and it is about 64 long pages, and it's well typed out. You know, Paul O'Sullivan is an author, so you know when he puts something down to pen and paper that it's the real deal. So he set a condition, and the condition says, at the onset, for reasons of personal and family security, I will not engage in discussions concerning my family, background, education, or business interests in South Africa or overseas prior to 1990. I do, however, confirm that I am a citizen of three countries and resultantly hold three passports, namely Ireland, Britain, and South Africa. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that was the sentence that set it off at the ad hoc committee. They said, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? This is not your mother's house. Hi, everybody. Please make sure to hit that like button. Go ahead as well. And let me know in the comment section where you are joining us from because we are inside Phakathi within. I'm doing a different kind of live today. So let's see how it goes. We are going to rehash Paul O'Sullivan within the ad hoc committee. So let's get started and let's find out what he said. You see, it's like every sentence that he drops, you feel like saying, but Paul, what are you saying now? And I want you to also make sure you take a look at his body language as well because it is out of this world. This man, yes, his body language is giving disrespectful. It's giving, I don't care who you are. It is giving, this is what I want to do. And he did say in advance that he wasn't going to talk to MK Party, he wasn't going to talk to the EFF, as well as Honorable James. Can't remember her party right now, but he did say that he wasn't going to engage them. And guess what he does when Julius Nelem is talking to him? He just simply doesn't. He says, I can't hear you. I don't understand what you're saying. What is he saying, Chair? The level of undermining, disrespect, he even well, in my opinion, and I want to endorse Julius Malema for saying this, it's giving white supremacy. And why does he say before 1990 he doesn't want to be engaged? What is there? What is he hiding? What does he not want to discuss? You know, over on Facebook, can't remember her name right now, but she is out there posting and posting and posting. Could this be where he has a criminal record and he just doesn't want to talk about it? Paul, what do you have to say? All right, let's dive straight into the part I want us to listen to while they're on their ad break. Well, technically they're on lunch, but we're just going to call it an ad break for the purpose of this discussion. So let's jump straight into it.
That period when you were in the army and in counter intelligence or intelligence, you were just a low level operative.
Very low level.
And then subsequent to that, when you went, you then became involved. You went to college,
Correct.
yeah, and you studied engineering. You indicated,
Correct, Chairman.
and was it from 1984 that you became interested or took an interest or engaged in property development?
In fact, while I was at IBM, I was in property management at IBM in building services. And IBM was expanding quite rapidly. So we were in the process of buying properties for that expansion. And in about 1984, I realized that there were other opportunities in the property arena, and I decided to pursue those. And I left IBM.
Now, in 1989, that was pre-democracy, and we still had an apartheid government in place. Did you come to South Africa to only expand your property interests, or for what reason did you come to South Africa?
In fact, Chairman, in late 1988, the property market in the UK collapsed. And when the property market in the UK collapsed, I already had investments elsewhere in the world. And I've been to South Africa several times for holiday. And I like the country, I like the weather, I like the people. And I decided I'm going to invest in property here, and that's what I did.
Did you have any connection or relationship with any persons, organizations, or the army or the police that were involved at the time in 1989 when we came here?
None whatsoever, Chairman.
Did you know, or were you connected to anybody in any of the security forces at the time?
None whatsoever, Chairman.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you want to mention or indicate to us that doesn't involve your own personal background or your family, which you may think would jeopardize or compromise your safety, that you would want to mention to the Honorable Committee?
None, Chairman. I came here as a tourist, not a terrorist. I came here as a tourist. I like the country. I like the people. I met people that I became friendly with. And I took a decision that it was a nice country and a country where it would be good to invest, and that's what I did.
Paul O'Sullivan. I took the decision to come as a tourist and not as a terrorist. Who brought up the terrorist word? He brought it up himself. But I thought that exchange was pretty interesting, especially the part about he thought that the weather was great, the country was. Is that not what colonialism was? Just saying, just putting it out there. So that's how Paul O'Sullivan's story begins. He doesn't want to talk about it, but then, they kind of pulled it right out of him. And you can see with his body language, he is not impressed. He is not amused. In fact, at the beginning, he also set the condition. You do know the ad hoc committee, sometimes they go all the way till midnight. I have no idea why they even do that. Personally, I couldn't do it. I think that's just crazy business. One thing is that he said, listen, I just got off a long haul flight, okay, last night. So he literally arrived yesterday. And he entered the ad hoc committee, and then they discussed the security measures that were taken. Where is his security? And he says, I don't know, there's somewhere here. So he has his own security. One man. I was quite shocked. And then he is covered by the SAPs and all the other security that they've assigned for him. So he is well secure. He is a happy man. But his body language is not giving happiness. It's giving, I want to get out of here. So basically, he sets the condition. His first condition of the day was he needs the ad hoc committee to end at the very latest at 7 p.m. because he's not well. He's an old man. He's 70 years old, and he needs to lie flat. He just got off a plane, and he's going to be experiencing pain. Therefore, he has to lie flat. That's why the committee has to end at 7 p.m. And I personally appreciate it because I don't like their long days. I do not like their long days. I just can't keep up with their long days. But So let's continue and hear where else he takes this discussion.
So you came here purely for the reason that it was a good investment destination
Correct, Chairman.
and to make money.
Well, you're always in business, you want to make money,
Yeah.
but not always make money. But yeah, I liked the country and I wanted to live here. By that stage, I only had a couple of children and we grew our family here.
Now at paragraphs, if we could just go back to the affidavit. In paragraph 6 and 7, you described your professional background in property development, investment, and then you moved to South Africa in 1989.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything
Sorry.
specifically so that we can move on? In paragraph 6 or 7 that you want to highlight?
Oh, I mean, by the time I came to live here, I already owned property here. I purchased property already. And it's pretty much what I've said in the statement.
Okay. Honorable Madam.
No, Chair, just for clarity, when you say military intelligence, you mean military intelligence section 6?
I can't hear what's being said, Chairman.
He is asking you about military intelligence. He says it is section 6.
I don't understand the question, Chairman.
My question is, when you refer to military intelligence, you refer to MI6?
No, Chairman.
Didn't mention MI6.
So you were never a member of MI6?
No, Chairman.
Honorable Skosana.
Chair, I guess the honorable member wants clarity on that, and I make a follow-up. Or maybe, is it MI6 or MI5? Which we are talking about?
It was military intelligence, Chairman.
Which one?
Military intelligence.
Yeah, but which one?
What do you mean,
Where?
which one? It was
Where?
military intelligence.
Where?
In the UK.
But it's MI5 or MI6, or is something else?
Chairman, there's a complete misunderstanding in the members' knowledge of how MI6 and MI5 are organizations which are separate entity to military intelligence altogether. So it's not it's not my job to come here and try and have a training course on how it all fits.
No. In
But I
fact,
work
Chair,
in military intelligence.
Chair, with due respect, we do our research, Ms. Paul O'Sullivan, because really, hence we were talking about the issue, whether you attended university or college. In your biography, there's nothing. You can't come here and lecture us about MI6. We know what we are talking about. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mr. O'Sullivan, just before we move to another section, do you have any training or did you have any training prior to coming to South Africa in forensic investigation?
No. When you say forensic investigation, perhaps I should qualify that, because obviously I had training in investigation, but not forensic investigation. I had training in investigation, but it was a different type of investigation, because you were investigating, for example, people's backgrounds and stuff like that. But I didn't have any forensic training. I got the forensic training that I have now whilst I was living in South Africa.
So the forensic, if you could describe it as such, that you did have was while you were in the British Army or in the intelligence
Correct,
section of the army.
correct, Chairman.
Was that basically just to spy on people?
No, I was never a spy, Chairman. So there's a complete misunderstanding if you think
Is
military.
no, just asking, please help me.
I was-
Is
I
it
was-
surveillance and spying, is it different?
So we were engaged in counter-terrorist activities and counter-surveillance. So it was more like trying to find out people that were spying rather than, being a spy yourself. I was never a spy.
But you had to spy on those people to find out whether they're spying on you.
No, but you never spied on them, you see. You never had to spy on them to find out. You would get information and you would follow up on that information.
I think what certainly speaking for ourselves as evidence leaders and perhaps also the honorable committee members is just we're just curious to know what really gave you an appetite to investigate people and to inquire into their backgrounds and so on prior to coming to South Africa and making this your home.
So I never really had that appetite, Chairman. The appetite was developed during my short-lived relationship with the then Commissioner of Police, Jackie Salebi, which we'll come into later. But the reality is, before that incident, I never had any appetite whatsoever. Of course, I was a police reservist. And as a police reservist, Chairman, I did all the necessary training and became proficient in investigating murder and robberies and fraud. And as a policeman, you are expected to be able to investigate these crimes and get to the bottom of it. And that set out in my commendations. In 1994, I received Police Officer of the Year Award in Johannesburg, not for spying, for investigating crime and getting to the bottom of it.
But you did become a police reservist shortly after you arrived in the country in 1990.
Yeah, I think
You
I've
arrived
been here
in
about a year.
1989.
Yeah.
So just before we get to that section, which you have touched on already on being a police reservist, which is from paragraphs 14 through to 20, you discuss it there. Just before that, you held a number of positions in property entities, portfolios, your role at Sage Properties, then called Eastern Province Building Society. You managed property portfolio and security. And yeah, so just describe that to us briefly, just perhaps before we take the lunch break.
It was very simple. Property development is what it was. I think we developed a few hundred houses. So you buy the land, you have to get it promulgated, you have to get the land rezoned, you have to get architects, what they call a site development plan, drawn up. So you use architects for that and town planners and surveyors. You get all the approvals, and once you get the approvals, you go to market and you sell the houses and you build them. And I think we did one or two small shopping centers as well, and a few small office developments and a few what we call mini industrial developments. And you do that with the intention to make a profit. And then I ended up with Sage Properties, and with Sage Properties, we were involved in managing property portfolios, which by its very nature involved the managing of the building services, the architectural services, the refurbishment, replacing the elevators, all that sort of stuff which goes with property management.
Mm.
And it complemented my work in the police, because one of the problems we had in downtown Johannesburg in those days was the spiraling levels of crime. And we started taking initiatives to reduce those levels of crime. And I got quite heavily involved in that. And that led to the formation of the Johannesburg Central Community Policing Forum. With the new Police Services Act, it was the government had taken a view that there should be community policing forums. So at that time, Sage Properties were a substantial property owner in Johannesburg, and we got involved and we formed the Community Policing Forum. For my sins, I was elected the chairman of that Community Policing Forum. And I set about, obviously voluntary work, but I set about doing it in a way that led to reduced crime in the city center of Johannesburg. We did a number of initiatives. One was installing cameras in the streets. Another was we created a thing called a crime prevention incentive scheme, where there would be awards issued, not bribes, but awards issued in the form of shopping vouchers and stuff like that for the policing in certain sectors that were able to reduce their crime. And we employed a young man to help liaise with the community in those areas. And we were quite successful.
You described that you described that at paragraph 17 of your affidavit.
Yes.
Yeah. So you just jumped a bit, because I want to just briefly also deal with your volunteer work as a reservist, which you mentioned earlier, that your secretary's husband, a certain Major Edwards in SAPS, had heard of your background, persuaded you to join South African Police Reserve. And before we deal that, Honorable Chair, is this a convenient point to take the lunch adjournment?
I want us to recover 15 of the 20 minutes that we lost. So it's until 1:15.
Thank you, Chair. So at paragraph 14, you talk about your joining the South African Police Service as a reservist. Can you just discuss that? That's from paragraph 14 onwards.
Yes. So I did my training at Halfway House, which is now Midrand. And the reason I did my training there was because Major Edwards was the station commander at Halfway House. And after I finished my training there, they said there was a shortage of detectives in Boysens. And I was asked, would you mind to work from Boysens? And I said, no, that's fine. So I then went to work from Boysens, and I spent 5 or 6 years working at Boysens. And during that period, we got quite active. I made some really good friendships with the other police officials there in Boysens. In 1993, I think it was, or 1994, all of a sudden one day the roof started leaking and the water came running in, destroyed all the carpets and everything. And we couldn't get Public Works to come and fix the roof. So I got a contractor that I knew to come and fix the roof. And then I got new carpets in and repainted the building because, you know, we wanted to make the place nice. On a Friday afternoon, I used to go to King Pie and buy 48 pies because if you could buy the pies for 3 rand each, but if you bought a dozen, you could get a dozen. I think they were 2 rand each, but if you bought a dozen, they were 20 rand. So I would go and buy a few packets of these pies and share them out, you know. So it was a bit of camaraderie. And then after 1996, I got shot on duty. I was hit 3 times. I was quite badly injured. So that injuries resulted in hospitalization. And I had to have part of my spine reconstructed. And for a while after that, I wasn't engaged in physical policing, you know, so you couldn't afford, for example, to involve where you arrest a suspect and he puts up a fight. So I then transferred to what was then called John Vorster Square, and I worked in the fraud unit there. And while I was working at John Vorster Square, I became unhappy with seeing this statue of John Vorster sitting in the entranceway every time you enter there. So in 1997, I brought a petition to the provincial government in Gauteng. At the time, Jessie Duarte, God rest her soul, she was the provincial MEC for safety and security. And I brought the petition to her to change the name of John Vorster Square to Johannesburg Central Police Station. And anybody going to Johannesburg Central Police Station today, at the entranceway, you'll see there's a brass plaque where in September 1997, the name of the station was changed. And my name is on that brass plaque as having been the chairman of the Community Policing Forum as well. So by this stage, I'd also been working at the Police Training Center, where I'd been requested to provide lectures. So I lectured in criminal law A and B, I lectured in police administration, and I lectured in crime investigation and the preparation of sworn statements. And I did that for a number of years. And I think it's mentioned there in paragraph 16 that in 1997, one of our students was Cyril Ramaphosa, who's today the president of South Africa, but then he wasn't even a politician, he was a businessman. And he sat in on the training course that I was running. And we subsequently issued, because he was a very good student. In fact, I remember one of the modules I had to train the student police officials on was the Constitution. Now, the Constitution had only been issued in 1996, and now we're in 1997. And it was very important that these police officials should understand.
Sorry, just so that we can just plug the photograph. It's if we could get some help to flight Annexure A54 of the Annexure bundle. Who was doing it? I don't know, it looks like there isn't anyone to assist us. But it's at page 54 of the Annexure bundle, Honorable Chair, honorable members.
Chair, the evidence leader wants a thing to be flighted there. Can we please see that?
Yes, it's at A54 and paragraph 16 of the affidavit. So while we waiting there, may we proceed, Honorable Chair? Maybe we can, 54, A54.
Paul looks so alone in the world seated in that chair. Paul looks so alone seated all alone in that chair, all by himself. No legal team, no security. Well, security's there. I think if you saw earlier the guy who came to bring him water, that's his security, and his name, guess what his name is? Paul. But Paul is not a happy man to be inside the ad hoc committee, and now they are digressing, waiting, tech issues. What is going on? Or what is taking so long? That time they are sitting there doing their lunch.
So if I may, in the meantime, continue, Honorable Chair.
Yes, please. Continue.
It's related to that. Can I ask you to look at A53, South African Reserve Police Service, Houghton House Reserve Training Center. It's dated 26 June 1997. Dear Sir, Detective Sergeant Paul Robert O'Sullivan, the force numbers there. The above name has been lecturing at this establishment and external courses since 1993. Currently lectures in the following subjects. And you've mentioned this: the Constitution and Police Ethics, Police Administration and Procedures, Crime Investigation and Scenes of Crime, the Criminal Procedures Act, Criminal Law A and B, statement taking. So is it in the course of doing that you also trained, amongst others, our president?
That's right, Chairman. During the period from 93 till about 2000, I trained 1,500 police reservists in Johannesburg. And at one stage, which was in 1997, the course that we ran, there would be about between 30 and 40 students on each course. And the courses would normally last about 3 months. And that would entail, I was only responsible for the lecturing side of it, which would entail three sessions in the evenings and one session on a Saturday. So I had to train these various police reservists. And one day I was quite surprised to find that one of the students sitting there was Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, I'd already met Cyril Ramaphosa previously because I'd met him at Wandis Place in Soweto. So I knew him already, and now he's suddenly a reservist or a reservist in training. And it was quite funny, really, because I remember one day I got, when you lecture, you don't just give a lecture and then leave it there. You give a lecture and then you have to ask questions. You have to get interaction with the students. And when I lectured these students, I would say, has anybody got any questions about this? Now, one of the areas we lectured on, as is mentioned here, is the Constitution and police ethics. And the Constitution was new at that time. And my area of interest, insofar as these students was concerned, was the Bill of Rights, because I wanted to make sure that we wouldn't be training police reservists who wouldn't understand the rights of citizens.
What training did you yourself receive in the Constitution or in relation to the Constitution and lecturing on the Constitution and ethics?
So I'd been to the police training center in Paarl. It's actually not far from here, where I did detective training and training of that nature. And then when the Constitution came out, I sat down, I can't remember the guy's name now, but I sat down with a constitutional lawyer in Johannesburg because I wanted to understand the Constitution. And the reason I wanted to understand it is because I wanted to make sure that the new police officials we were training would understand that the citizens of the country had rights that they previously didn't have. And the sort of things that bothered me as a policeman would be when I saw a person being arrested, that they used to assault them. And that worried me. It wasn't something I liked to see. And in one case, I can remember in 1994, I arrested an individual who had murdered a woman. And while he was in my custody, 2 police officials wanted to assault him. So I had to actually tell them that if they assault my prisoner, I'm going to arrest them. And that was problematic. But I decided to take a strong approach to that. So when I trained the reservists, I made sure that those reservists understood that if they breached the constitutional rights of any suspect, they themselves could face criminal prosecution. So I got myself up to speed on that. But the point I was making was when I lecture, I then get feedback from the students to make sure they understand what I'm saying. So I would give them an example and I would say, if so-and-so happened, would that be correct? And they would say yes or no, depending on what the example was I would give them. And then I would say, have any of you got any queries now? Do you understand everything? Do you have any questions? And one student popped out a question. I can't remember what the question was, but it was about constitutional rights, because that was the only area we were looking at. We weren't looking at the rest of the Constitution. We were primarily concerned with arrested and detained persons and the rights of prisoners. And he popped the question out like that. And I turned around and I asked another student, what do you think the answer is to that? And then I thought, oh, but I've got Cyril sitting here. So I point to Cyril. I said, Cyril, do you agree with that? And he said, why are you asking me? I said, because you were involved in the drafting of the Constitution.
That's him on the screen.
Pardon me?
It's him on the screen.
Yes. So I was a bit younger then. I had some hair. So I asked Cyril, do you agree with his answer? And Cyril said, yes, he's correct. And so that was the sort of thing that we used to deal with.
Okay.
And then at the end of that particular course, everybody gets what they issued with an appointment certificate, which says, okay, you are now a police constable. So Cyril became a police constable. And on every course, if you scroll up again, you can see it's gone now, there's a shield. And actually, I created that shield. I paid for it out of my own pocket. And we used to have a little thing where you engrave the name of the best student. So on each intake of students, I would invite the other lecturers to nominate a student for best student. And bearing in mind, in those days, Cyril was not involved in politics in any way, shape, or form. But he was nominated, and it was agreed that he would be the best student on that particular course. So when we gave him the shield, he keeps it for a year, then he must hand it back. When we gave him the shield, the media were there and the picture was taken. Yeah.
Honorable Nombalo.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. I was interested in Mr. Paul O'Sullivan's response regarding the question that the senior counsel has asked I think the question is, what official qualification did you get in order for you to qualify to train others about the Constitution? Now, the response that I heard is that he met a lawyer and then he asked about the Constitution because he was interested. So is that the only qualification that he got? Because I think the question was about an official qualification that he got that made him to qualify to train others about the Constitution of South Africa. I was interested in the response, but I'm realizing now that the senior council is moving on despite the wrong answer that has been given.
Must I answer, Chairman? Chairman, at that stage, there were nobody in the country that had any qualifications in the Constitution. They didn't exist. There were no constitutional lawyers. They didn't exist. There was no constitutional court. It hadn't been formed. So I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't want to train people in aspects of the Constitution, for example, the government and how it all fits together. I was only interested in the Bill of Rights. And I wanted to make sure that the students I was training, the students we were putting out, after they had received their training, that they wouldn't go out on the streets and abuse the constitutional rights of others. So there was no qualification.
You have a law degree. Mr. Paul O'Sullivan, do you have a law degree?
No, Chairman, no. I just learned, I went and sat with a senior lawyer and went through the Constitution and understood for myself exactly how the Constitution would work. And we worked through some examples. And when I had Mr. Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, as a student, it was a great opportunity to canvass these issues. And that's what we did.
Okay. Honorable Malema, Honorable Matthys, Honorable Skosana, is your hand still up?
Mr. Paul O'Sullivan, you don't have any qualification to train anyone about the Constitution, even at that time, right?
Didn't hear the question.
You don't have any qualification, and you did not have any qualification to train anyone about Constitution in 1997.
No,
We're talking about you, not everybody, you.
no, Chairman, there was no qualifications then.
No, you did not have.
Okay, Chairman, I had no qualifications to train anybody in the Constitution.
When was the Constitution adopted?
I didn't train them in the Constitution. I trained them on the Bill of Rights.
Oh, la, la. When was the Constitution adopted? The one you are training them on.
What's he saying?
When was the Constitution adopted? The one you are training them on.
In 1996.
Was Cyril not part of the people who were at the center of developing that Constitution?
He was part of the group that drafted the Constitution.
So you were training him on a Constitution that he helped to draft?
Chairman, Cyril had to be trained as a police reservist. He chose to be trained as a police reservist. So, ironically, that training included understanding the Bill of Rights. It didn't I think I've made it clear, it doesn't deal with the whole Constitution. It dealt with the Bill of Rights and police ethics. So we had a module on that. And for that, we used to use different examples. And it was ironic that Cyril had to listen to training on the Constitution. But the good news is he agreed fully that the training that the people were getting was correct. And I was quite comfortable with that because it endorsed the quality of the training that we were given to the police students.
Mr. Paul O'Sullivan, are you suggesting that the president went to write the Bill of Rights collectively with others and only to be trained about the Bill of Rights after putting it into the Constitution?
Well, Chairman, I think we're playing word games here. The reality of the situation is that in order to be a police reservist, you have to go through a little tick box exercise. You have to get trained on this, you have to get trained on that, you have to get trained on this, you have to get trained on that. Even if you were part of the people that wrote it, you're now coming into a system where it has to be demonstrated that you've had that training. So yes, it was quite a strange situation for me, because clearly Cyril Ramaphosa knew a lot more about the Constitution than I did. But the reality is that's where it worked.
Before I take Honorable Matthias and Honorable Skosana, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan, is it difficult for you to say Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa or President Cyril Ramaphosa?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. He's now the president. At that point in time, it was Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. He's now the honorable president.
Okay. Honorable Matthias.
It's also on the training, even the training of the police reservists. I thought we should just get clarity. Mr. O'Sullivan said he trained at the police academy or training center in Paarl. When did he graduate from there? Because he's now training even our reservists. So, and was the training to be able to train, or he just got?
I don't hear what she said.
Okay, my question, Mr. O'Sullivan, is this. You've indicated that you attended training at the police academy or the police training center here in Paarl. Am I correct?
Chairman, I went on a train the trainer course where we were trained to train.
So, yes, so that's what I'm asking. So I'm asking, when did you qualify? How long did it take? How long was that course?
A three-month course.
Okay, thank you. And then you were qualified after 3 months to train other reservists.
The course was a train the trainer course.
Well,
So
after 3
I
months.
was trained
Okay.
to train.
Okay. And it was a 3-month course at an academy in Paarl, the SAPS Academy in Paarl. Is that what you're saying?
Don't know what the question is, Chairman.
The duration of your course, was it 3 months at the SAPS Academy in Paarl?
That's correct, Chairman.
Honorable Skosan.
So, Chair, I just want to find out from Mr. O'Sullivan, training for 3 months make you to qualify to train others to get certificate or diploma. After you train them, what they were getting?
Chairman, we're talking about the early 90s.
1997, not early.
I received a certificate that stated I'd been on that course, but I mean, yeah, where that is today, I don't know, because we're talking about more than 30 years ago.
Yeah, but my question is what they were getting after you trained them?
Pardon?
What they were getting after you trained them? Diploma, certificate, or nothing?
They got an appointment certificate.
No.
They got a certificate that stated they completed their training. And the certificate included the modules that they'd been trained in. And then once they got that certificate, they were issued with an appointment certificate.
So they were getting certificate what? Is this your daily, like you are attending a seminar after you finish a seminar, they give you something like attendance certificate?
I can't make out what he's saying, Chairman.
So what I'm saying, do you hear me?
I can hear noise, but I can't make out what you're saying.
No, I think
it's coming across distorted. I have a hearing issue and I can't make out the actual words.
Yeah, I think you need to get some hearing. Otherwise, we're gonna be, repeating the same question over and over again. My issue for you was simple. You trained students, as you say, in 1997. Now, after training, what certificate or diploma, was it 3 months? Were you giving them something or what What was the value of that training? Because yourself, you were not qualified as well. Yourself, you were not qualified. Do you agree?
What is the actual question? I don't understand.
No, it's simple. If you want to understand, the simple question is, those students you trained, where they were awarded a certificate or a diploma?
I've answered, Chairman, that they were issued with a certificate that they had completed their training.
From the unqualified person like you?
By what?
You were not qualified to do that, am I right?
I wasn't issuing them the certificate.
Who was issuing them the certificate?
The training center was issuing them the certificate.
But they were trained by you?
No, I only trained them in these areas. They had a lot more training. They had firearms training.
No, but you said here you trained them. That's what you said.
No, what I'm saying is I participated in the training.
We are changing now. You never said you participated.
15,
Okay,
I trained.
let's do this, honorable members.
For clarity, Chair, on record, he said he trained them, not participated.
Okay.
He
Say
said,
thank you, Chair.
he said that he attended training the trainers course in PAL. And from there, together with other trainers, they went to train the attendees. And so those attendees, some would have been trained by other trainers on firearms. He was training on a constitutional law.
Thank you, Chair. I'm saying he said himself he trained them, not now he's changing. He said he participated.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Chairman, it's the same thing. I trained 1,500 reservists. I didn't give them firearms training. I didn't train them on how to wear their uniform. I didn't train them on how to salute. I didn't train them on how to march. I didn't train them on how to arrest somebody. I trained them on the administrative items, which is
You had specific themes that you were training on.
I trained them on the areas that I was trained to train them on,
So-
and I trained 1,500 of them.
When we come back from break, there is a hearing device there. You can try it and see if it will not help you. Honorable James,
What did he say? Okay.
Mr. Sullivan? Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We are asking you, was the training accredited? Is what we're asking you. We're not asking you if they've received a certificate of attendance. It's like going to school for 12 years and getting a certificate of attendance. We are asking you, was the training that you provided accredited? That's what we're asking you. Can you answer that, please?
Is the training clear?
Ayara, was it accredited?
Credited?
Yes.
Yes, it was accredited by the police, sir.
By the
sir.
police?
Yes, it was police training. There was a syllabus that was set there, a set of books. Chairman, we're talking about 30 years ago, but there was a set of books which we had to work through. And the books were issued by the police. And they were a syllabus, and you had to take them through the syllabus. And at the end of it, they got a certificate stating that they completed the training. They had to have exams. They passed the exams. If they failed the exams, training was terminated.
okay.
And by the way, Chairman, I didn't write the books. I just trained them.
Honorable Malem.
Chair, I'm just clarifying that the story that he says he has not trained people, and the way you were summarizing it is incorrect. It's in paragraph 16, where he explains how he was training people, and then he concludes by saying a total of approximately 1,500 students were trained by me, not trained by us. trained by me in his own ways, in his own affidavit. Me.
No, but I don't think you trained them. I trained them. I trained them in the subjects of constitutional police ethics, police administration procedures, crime investigation, scenes of crime, Criminal Law Procedures Act, Criminal Law A and B, and statement taking. I trained 1,500 reservists in that training.
I agree with you. Unqualified as you are, you trained 1,500. I agree with you. You said that. In crime investigation.
Okay.
Okay. May honorable members, may we rise and take a break. We will come back at 14 hours.
Unbelievable, Paul O'Sullivan. That's what I've got to say. I've got two things to say. He trained 1,500 people. And now, by the way, I believe that, does he have a hearing problem? How come he's never had this hearing problem when he's there on the YouTube street? How come when he's doing all his media tours, he does not have a hearing problem? But specifically at the ad hoc committee, I want you guys to pay attention. Specifically at the ad hoc committee, when it's Julius Malema, he can't hear anything. When it is MKP, Honorable Kosana, he can't hear anything. When it is Honorable James, he can't hear anything. He continuously needs them to repeat themselves and say everything over and over and over again. And then the question becomes, is he being genuine or disingenuous? Is he playing games? To me, in my opinion, from where I'm sitting, it is too convenient. You know what? Maybe Glennis should ask a question. I want to see something. Maybe if she asks a question, I want to see if his hearing is sharp and crisp. It's going to be very, very interesting. So now they're going for lunch. Let me go ahead and catch us up to where they are now. Da, 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 da. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about Paul O'Sullivan so far. Let's go to chapter 16. No, paragraph 16. Wow. Imagine if he had 16 chapters. Let's go to this chapter 16 situation. Where is his bodyguard? Do you see him standing right next to him? He has one bodyguard. How many did Shadrach Severe bring with him? Paragraph 16. In 1996, I worked the fraud unit at what was then known as the John Foster Square from 1993 all the way up to 2000. I also lectured at the Police Training Center in the subject of police administration, crime investigation, and criminal law 3 times a week, and a total of approximately 1,500 students were trained by me, of course. We all know Paul is team I. Yeah, Mr. Self-Importance. But let's continue during this period. Attached here too is a letter confirming the same, marked A53. Particularly in 1997, I also trained President Cyril Ramaphosa as a reservist. Attached here too is a newspaper cutting marked Annexure 54. Yeah, so he trained them. Isn't this interesting? Very, very interesting. Okay, let me try to catch us up because 2 things I'm going to do. Dun, dun, dun. I just have trouble listening to regular speed. So I kind of delay myself. And then, are we starting? Oh, Souls is here. I definitely want to hear what he has to say. Okay, so let's let that play out. It's still buffering, so give it a second.
Welcome, Bangazita. Welcome, Honorable Mwango. Thank you so much. Advocate Arense. Mr. Mpilo, I'm told that you are disrupting the senior council. Yeah. 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 Are we resuming Advocate Arense? Let's resume. What is the approach? Honorable members, we have released Honorable Breitenbach, like she requested to be released at 1:15, and the Honorable Topper,
Oh
where
no.
he is following the
Now
proceedings,
the
he says
experiment I wanted to see if
the
Paul is
apology
going to
should
be
read
deaf.
that due to logistics and traveling
Oh, she's gone.
arrangements, not preparations for the SOPA. Yeah, okay, we are back in action. Advocate Arense, may we proceed together with Mr. Honorable Sols.
Chair, I just want clarity quickly around our seating arrangement. My seat is occupied by MP from the Economic Freedom Fighters. I didn't want to bring it to you, so I showed courtesy and brought it to the leadership. But now I'm not listened to, so now I'm bringing it to the House. I can't be putting my seat here.
You know, I know Honorable Malema to be a very sociable
And maybe it's only when it comes to me.
and kind neighbor.
And maybe it's only when it comes to me.
So may I just request?
There's no problem.
Yeah.
Because I brought the attention. Ask your DSG.
Yeah, DSG didn't tell me. I didn't know there was a problem.
I thought the commander is very strict. There's no glitch.
Now we'll deal with it.
All right.
Also, you feel relegated there. You are in the lower divisions.
Are we sorted now?
Yeah, no, I understand that there is.
May I take my seat next to
I understand
the commander?
that
And
is good
my seat will never
neighborliness.
be occupied again.
Yeah,
All right.
that proximity is good for you.
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. Advocate, are we ready?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable
Mr.
members.
Paul O'Sullivan, welcome back. Welcome back, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
When we
Honorable Chair.
establish if he is not willing to use the hearing aid, because part of what we have observed is that he takes time to hear some of the questions. Hence, he was advised to use the device in front of him. So can you establish if he is not willing to use it?
I'm going to try it, Chairman, but I'm not sure it will work, and I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
The year before last, somebody tried to murder me. And when that happened, I was left hospitalized due to what they call TBI, which is traumatic brain injury. And as a result, it's not the volume of the noise, it's my ability to understand the words that are coming into my ears. And I'm happy to share, without going into too much detail, I'm happy to share a photograph in private and the medical report, which explained what happened to my brain. It didn't affect the functionalities of my brain other than the hearing. So sometimes if a person talks clearly and slowly, I can make out what they're saying. But if the voice is distorted or too loud, I can't hear what they're saying. I can hear noise, but I can't make out what the words are. So that's why sometimes I have to ask people to, and those that know me are used to it. I say, what did he say? You know, and unfortunately, that's the way it is. They never caught the person that tried to kill me, but I'm still living with the whatever happened about it. So I must just go like this. Or how must I do it?
Now you can hear silence.
No, I can hear you, Chairman.
Oh, you hear me now. Okay. Advocate Arend, sir.
Honorable Chair, may I proceed?
Excuse me, Chair. Shouldn't the earpiece be turned in? It doesn't look like it's fitted properly. It's on the side of his.
Yeah,
Hey.
you can get closer and help.
I must what?
Can someone help him?
Who said that?
No, Chair, Mr. Ramano deserves a
He's
suspension.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Honorable Pambo, you see Honorable Souls is all smiles. I can see Honorable Souls is happy now.
Seniority prevailed there, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much for the understanding.
No, it's-
Advocate Arend, sir, may you
It's
proceed?
correct, Chair. Seniority is prevailing.
May I proceed, Chair? Thank you. Mr. O'Sullivan, are you ready? Yeah.
Oh, good, thank you.
Thank you. Just to recap and maybe to summarize from the line of questioning about your credentials as a police trainer and more particularly as a lecturer, because you said you lectured in subjects of police administration, crime investigation, criminal law, and also the Constitution, and probably the most important part of our Constitution, which is human rights. Yes, the Bill of Rights and human rights is the same thing. But you accept that you didn't have any formal training or qualifications to give lectures or to teach people in these subjects.
As I said, I went on a trainer's course. Now,
Is that the one in Paul?
yes, and the manuals, if you put them on a table, they would probably sit up to about there, and there would be about 30 books or 20 books, a lot of them, and they were different colors depending on the subject. And the trainer was how to take people through those manuals.
So you went on train the trainer course,
Correct.
and were you accredited for that?
I was issued a certificate that I was authorized to provide this training.
And who paid for this training?
It was the government, obviously, that paid for it.
The police.
Yes,
And you volunteered this training. You didn't get.
I was asked to go on the course.
Okay.
They were looking for people that would go on the course, and I was asked, and I went on it.
Okay. Now, I just want to just ask some questions about your entry into this country. So it wasn't first time in 1989. You had been here previously.
Oh, yes, I've been.
When did you first come into South Africa?
I can't remember the year, but it would have been in the 70s as a tourist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember going to Kruger Park. I remember staying, some of it you can still remember. I remember staying at the Fig Tree Hotel in Nelspruit, which was 7 Rand a night, or 7 Rand 50 if you had breakfast. So it's a long time ago. And I enjoyed it. I came here for holidays. And I probably came once or twice a year for holidays.
And did you visit what was then Rhodesia before it became Zimbabwe?
I did, indeed, yes.
And what was your purpose for going to then Rhodesia?
I spent a 2-month holiday at a place it's now called Wangi. It was then called Wanki, which was a very large game park. We cruised on the Kariba Dam. We went fishing on the Kariba Dam. Yeah.
You didn't interact there with the Rhodesian police, the special forces, or the army?
None whatsoever, no. Well,
You
when I say none whatsoever, when you went into certain areas, you were forced to interact with them because they used to have roadblocks and things. So, yeah, you had that interaction. But I never had any official interaction.
Yeah, no, I mean, even unofficial, because often in the kind of undercover COVID world, these things are never official. They are unofficial.
Yes, no, I never had any unofficial interaction. My interaction would have been, for example, you get stopped at a roadblock and they search your car, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, I shared with you, and we will make this letter, or a copy of this letter, available to the committee, the Honorable Committee. It's a letter which I shared with you
Yes.
now during the lunch break. It's dated the 23rd of November 1982. And it's addressed to a Mr. S.S. van der Merwe. Initials are quite unfortunate. And S.S. van der Merwe, Director General, Department of Internal Affairs. And the author of this letter is D.W. Watterson, MP. No, I do because, well, not because I'm a bit older than most in this room, but I do remember a member of Parliament, Watterson. Do you know, or did you know a Mr. Watterson?
It's not a name that I remember. So unfortunately, I don't know or did not know Mr. Watson. But in one of the documents there, the name Frank Martin was mentioned. Frank Martin spent some time in the.
Yeah, I'll get
If
to
you
Frank
can
Martin.
please speak closer to the microphone.
Sorry, Chair.
Closer to the microphone, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan.
So Mr. Sullivan, this letter reads, and you've got a copy of the letter. It's from Mr. Watterson to Mr. van der Merwe, who's then the DG of Internal Affairs. Dear Sir, enclosed herewith are documents for a Mr. P.R. O'Sullivan, who holds a Republic of Ireland passport, but has been brought up largely in England and now wishes to settle permanently in South Africa. I first met Mr. O'Sullivan in the UK in an ex-servicemen's club with Mr. Frank Martin, senior MEC in Natal, about 2 years ago. He was very keen to settle in South Africa. We were both impressed with him as a suitable settler for South Africa. Intelligent, well-educated, and of a very conservative political attitude. I believe he would be a very useful addition to the white community of our country. Upon conversation with him, it appears that he has voluntarily undergone military service overseas and is very familiar with modern armored weaponry. If allowed to remain in South Africa, he would be very willing to undertake military service. I regret having to worry you with another of these immigrant cases, but I believe this one is well worth the effort. His visitor's permit expires at the end of January 1983. Therefore, it would be appreciated if the matter could be handled with some expedition. Kind regards and best wishes for Christmas and the New Year. This is written on the 23rd of November 1982. What is it? Sorry, Gilbert. Sorry. And there's some handwriting, and it seems to have been received around about the 26th of November 1982. Then there is a handwritten letter, which is dated, is that 20 November 1982, and it comes from you, and I think you confirmed that this was your handwriting. And this is what it says. Dear Sir, I know that you are very busy and May I ask Ms. Mkhize to read it, please? We'll read the next.
Dear sir, I know that you are very busy, and I'm sorry to have to take up your time. However, I am in a predicament and can think of no one else to turn to. The last time I came to South Africa, nearly 2 years ago, I obtained a work permit without any bother at all. I foolishly assumed that the same would apply on this occasion. I was offered good employment by Mr. Jim Powell, whom I know from the UK. I sold my house in London and came to South Africa with the intention of settling here. My fiance is due here in January, when we hope to get married. Alas though, my work permit was refused, and without a work permit, I cannot start work and apply for permanent residency. This puts me in a bit of a quandary, I think, is that what it says? As I so want to stay in this country, which I love so much and believe in it, as there are few countries left in the world that is not riddled with communist-inspired unions and unsettlement. I so believe that this is still a good Christian country, and as a Christian, I feel it is the ideal environment to raise a family. I have already applied for a course in Afrikaans, as I want to completely integrate with the South African way of life. Sir, it would break my heart if I now have to return to the UK. I beg you humbly to speak on my behalf to someone in a position to consider me as an immigrant. I hope you will forgive me for troubling you in this way. But when I met you in the UK with Frank Martin, you appeared to me to be a reasonable gentleman that would listen to reason. I enclose for your information the details concerning my application that was refused. Here are some details about myself and copies of my certificates and references. I will pray that you will find an ear somewhere that will listen to you on my behalf, as it means so much to me. I have also sent a copy of this letter to Frank Martin, who has been a friend of mine for some years now. Humbly yours, P.R. O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Advocate Mkhize. So this letter appears to have been addressed to, I think it was Mr. Watterson, Member of Parliament. I'm not sure whether at the time he was a National Party or United Party MP. So Mr. O'Sullivan, is this accurate? Is this true?
Well, Chairman, the top part of it, the first time I saw this letter was, I think, last week. Somebody showed it to me. It had been published on social media by a person by the name of Colleen Makubela from MK Party, and along with a lot of defamatory comments. And the bottom part of it, which is a handwritten, the circumstances surrounding that were that Frank Martin was a member of the club that I used to attend in the UK, which was an ex-servicemen's club. And Frank Martin wanted me to come and work and live in South Africa at that time. And I can't remember exactly what took place because we're talking 40-something years ago. I'm being interrupted or not? Am I allowed to finish? Okay. So it was like 42 years ago. I was in my 20s, you know, and what happened was Frank Martin said, you can get this position. It would be a very good position. I can't even remember what the position entailed, but you would have to fill in an application form. And actually he filled the form in for me. And he said, you need to write the letter. And he told me what to write, and I wrote the letter. And after that, I never heard about it again. But I was here. I came here on a regular basis. In fact, I subsequently got married in 1984. And I had my honeymoon here. I never sold any house, of course. As was stated there, I wrote what Frank told me to write 42 years ago. And after that, I can't recall what happened about the matter, but I'd never seen, and I don't recall having met this fellow, Watterson. If I met him, I don't recall meeting him. It's not a name that I know.
He says your handwritten letter appears to be addressed to him, although he's not mentioned in the handwritten letter, because he then references that he met with you in the UK in an ex-serviceman club with Mr. Frank Martin about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't recall that. Frank Martin was definitely a member of my club. Frank Martin was in a prisoner of war camp with my late father. And
Honorable Novalo.
No, thanks, Chair. I couldn't hear properly. You spoke about Colleen of the MK party. I just missed that part. If you can explain what he meant.
He says the letter that is being referred to was posted on social media by a certain Miss Colleen Makubela from the MKP.
Okay. Okay.
along with a lot of defamatory comments.
Along with a lot of defamatory comments. Can we proceed? Okay.
So can we accept that this letter that was addressed by Mr. Watterson to the DG then of Internal Affairs in 1982, it appears to be an authentic letter?
It certainly appears to be, but as I've said, the first time I've seen that letter, I think it was either last week or the week before when somebody forwarded to me and showed me the post on whatever it is, either Facebook or TokTik or what's this other one called, Twitter. It was on one of these, and the person, it may be somebody that's not Colleen Makubela, but the person that appeared to have been posting it was using the name Colleen or Colleen Makubela from the MKP and stating that I can't remember the defamatory words now, but this is a racist pig and he needs to go or something like that. I can't remember the word.
Okay, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm sure the honourable members from the MKP will ask about that. What I want to know is whether following Watterson MP's letter to the then Director General of what was Internal Affairs, we regarded then as notorious. But he writes to him and he says that your visitor's permit was expiring at the end of January 1983. The letter is written in November 1982, essentially seeking a favor to either extend your visitor's permit or in fact requesting that one can infer from the letter, be accorded some permanent status. So my question to you is, after you wrote the letter in November 1982, on the 20th of November, it looks like to Mr. Watterson, did your status change after January 1983?
No, in fact, Chairman, I was if I recall correctly, I was on a vacation in November in South Africa. I wasn't here until January the next year. And I met with Frank Martin, who I knew, because, as I previously stated, he was in a prisoner of war camp with my late father. And we used to call him Uncle Frank because we were children when he used to visit. And while I was on vacation in 1982, he said there was some position, a very important position for me in the building services or whatever department or something like that in the Natal province. And I could get a good job. And would I like the job? And, I was 20 something years old. It sounded like a good idea at the time. I said, yeah, it'll be all right. But I mean, I have a tourist permit, they call it a visitor's permit. And
but why do you record in your letter that you are in a predicament and can think of no one else to turn to? If you were on a visitor's permit, which was now going to expire in January 83, then presumably you would just leave before the visitor's permit expires and you go back to the UK or Ireland.
In fact, I spent 3 weeks there, not 3 months. But when you enter the country, and it's still the case today, you're given a visitor's permit for 90 days. So I came here for holiday. You get a visitor's permit for 90 days. I met with Frank in Durban, and Frank offered me a position. Actually, I didn't meet him in Durban. I met him in Pietermaritzburg. And he offered me a position, an engineering job, and it would be good pay. And I said, yeah, but I don't have a work permit or anything like that. He said, look, I filled in these forms. He filled them in for me. He said, just sign this and here, write a letter in your own handwriting. And he told me what to write, so I wrote it. And as I say, it's 42 years ago. I can't even remember. I would have completely forgotten about it if somebody hadn't have sent it to me last week.
Well, did you forget? You forgot to mention it in your evidence and in your affidavit. Didn't you think it was material?
No, I didn't think it was material.
You worked here according to your own letter. You had obtained a work permit without any bother, and you foolishly assumed, I'm reading from your letter, that the same would apply on this occasion. You were offered good employment by Mr. Jim Powell, whom you knew from the UK. You sold your house in London with the intention of settling here. Now you write and you say you're in a predicament because you're sitting with a visitor's permit and you had intention of back.
Chairman, as I said, I came on holiday. I just wrote what Frank suggested I should write. I cannot remember now what happened 42 years ago. But, you know, I wrote what Frank suggested I should write, and I gave it to him. I didn't send it anywhere. He handled it. And this letter that's attached to it, I see it for the first time.
But this seems to be your predicament recorded in your own letter.
So I wrote what
Yes,
Frank
let me quote
suggested I write.
from your letter. Alas, though my work permit was refused, and without a work permit, I cannot start work and apply for permanent residence.
I don't.
So this is the predicament you say, because this puts me in a bit of a quandary, as I want to stay in this country, which I love so much, and I believe is one of the few countries in the world that is not riddled with communist-inspired unions and what is it? Yeah, and then you go on to say that this is a good Christian country. So this is an appeal to a politician to help you to obtain a work permit and permanent residence. This is not a casual visitor who's coming here, the visitor's permit expires, and now you know you must leave the country.
I left the country before that letter even was typed, because I was in Durban. I'd had 2 weeks holiday, I had another week to go, I think. And Frank suggested, I can get you a job here, you can become a resident here and whatnot. And it sounded like a good idea at the time. I was, as I said, I was 20 something years old. I'm 70 now, you know, so he did the forms and he suggested I write the letter. He told me what to write and he said, I'll handle it. Off you go back. We didn't have mobile phones and stuff then. I never heard from him again. In fact, I heard from him again, I think 2-3 months later. And he said, no, that position was filled by somebody else. So it's a, what do you call it? Storm in a teacup. And it was 42 years ago. But there's absolutely, and I mean, I've just read again now that handwritten letter.
So what are you saying, that you were not in fact in a predicament or in a quandary?
Not in a
predicament. You wrote what he told you to?
Yes, at the time I was fully employed.
So you wrote an untruth in a letter addressed to the Director General of this country in 1982 in order to influence that Director General to issue you either with a work permit or permanent residence.
Well, I won't say it was an untruth. Frank said, if you write this letter.
Well, why is it not an untruth?
Well, I suppose.
When you now say 50 years later.
It would have been a predicament, I suppose, if I was given the job, but I wasn't given the job. So it became a non-event. But you know, in the 20s, you'll do things that perhaps you wouldn't do.
Well, it would have been it's a pity that you give this explanation, the extent to which I don't know whether it will persuade anybody, but it's because I disclosed this letter to you, and I can assure you that I'm not on social media. I didn't put it from social media, neither did any of my colleagues. I mean, we get this information on good authority, and you didn't disclose it in your affidavit. I think, I know that my colleague, Advocate Mkhize, did raise it with you. You raised it with her and said that this has now been brought to my attention.
That's correct. Yes, I brought it to her attention last week when it was brought to my attention.
Yeah. On Sunday.
Yeah, and I finalized my affidavit, I think on Friday or Saturday. So it was brought to my attention. I said, oh, you know, But there's so much other stuff on social media. Why should we put all that in your affidavit? There's stuff on social media which is completely fake.
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan, I'm always pressed for time, so I don't worry about social media. I want to ask about this letter. Because you also write your work permit was refused. In other words, what I'm trying to understand, and you must please help us, is that this is not some casual letter written by a 20-year-old on the advice or guidance of a more senior person, presumably Mr. Frank Martin, or an MP, to say, just write this down. This is serious. You say you had applied for a work permit, but it was refused. And now and your intention is not to holiday yet. It is, and I'm paraphrasing your letter, it's to start work and to apply for permanent residence, and for the reasons that you've given. This is a Christian country, don't have these communist unions here. You like the people here. You even want to learn to speak Afrikaans.
Well, unfortunately, if you're offered an opportunity, I thought it would a good opportunity at the time, and I went along with it. The reality of it is, I don't remember getting a work permit or being refused a work permit. I never came to work here in pursuit of that, and I only later, in 1989, which was 7 years later, applied for a residence permit on the basis of being a person of independent means. So I didn't see it as being anything other than that.
Well, we now know from your evidence that we accept that these letters as authentic. Because you see, this changes the reasons why you came to South Africa in 1989. The impression you create in your affidavit and the early part of your evidence is that, in fact, the market or the property market, I forget now, but you can correct me, in the UK had collapsed, and you were looking for business opportunities, and you came to South Africa in 1989. So the impression you create is that you're entirely disinterested in this country, other than this is an opportunity to invest and to make money. You said, no, of course, if you invest, you want to make money. But that's the extent of your interest. Now we read a letter that you wrote to a member of parliament to say, look, I'm in a predicament, I'm in a quandary. This is some 7 years before you eventually came here in 1989. And that you had already applied then for a work permit. You had already applied, and I'm paraphrasing from your letter, for a course in Afrikaans, as I want to completely integrate with the South African way of life. Do you accept that this puts a different narrative or background to why you entered South Africa in 1989?
No, I don't. And the reason for that, Chairman, I didn't just come here to invest and make money. I had been coming here every year for a holiday for many years. And I invested in property here before I took a decision to come and live here. I had already acquired property in 1987, but I didn't apply for permanent residence then. I bought another property in 1988. It was in 1989 that I decided, you know what, I like this country, we must go and live there. And then I applied, and my application was granted.
Yes, but let's deal with that. Was in 1989 and after that. Because unless, again, you were told rights and you didn't really mean it, in other words, it's not true, you say, sir, and I quote from your letter, it would break my heart if I now have to return to the UK. You're actually desperate to stay here because, as you say, you're in a quandary, you're in a predicament. And then you go in a position to consider me as an immigrant. So in 1982 November, you expressed a desire. You pleaded, you want to stay here as an immigrant. You didn't want to return to the UK or to England.
It was probably an exaggeration. The reality of it is,
So you exaggerated.
In that
you wrote some untruths.
I wouldn't say
you exaggerated.
I exaggerated.
Can we take Honorable Nomvalo?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. No, we just wanted to make a request on record that may the witness, even if it's during lunch or after hours, produce evidence showing that a member of parliament, Honorable Colleen, posted some defamatory something about him, because we stated on record that our member has never done that. She has never posted anything on any social media platform. But we request that you provide that proof to us, even if you can provide it after today's session. You can ask for your team, from your team, to look for it now.
Can I answer, Chairman?
Yes.
So Chairman, I don't have social media. Somebody showed it to me on a phone. And it looked to, I mean, from what I can remember, it showed the person as being Colleen Makubela. And that's why I can't remember if it was on Twitter or TokTik or whatever. I can't remember.
It's TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Somebody showed it to me. And yeah, I can't go back and look for something that I don't have.
The person is from the MKP.
And I think I pointed this out earlier, that it appeared to be a person called Colleen or Colin Makubela from the MK party. So yeah, if I can't find that, then I can't find it, but it appeared to me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do the best I can, but I don't have social media. So yeah.
Honorable Nomvalo, your question has been responded to.
No, unfortunately, Chair, he's not sure of what he's talking about. Then I think we are helpless under the circumstances, because our member has never posted anything of that nature. Hence, we make a request that he provides proof to us. Because our member is even ready to depose to David. She has never posted anything of that
You
nature.
confirm to him that you have a member called Colin Makube.
Do have a member called the former chief whip of the MK party. I think she's all known to us, but she has never posted anything of that nature. So I think it's wrong and unfair for the witness to say something that is untrue about her while she is not even here to respond for herself.
Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I guess this issue of casting aspersions without evidence, I always question witnesses. We had witnesses last week. When you ask for evidence, they are evasive. Now, Mr. O'Sullivan say he saw from someone phone. Now, it's a hearsay. You saw that alone. We want evidence here. Because now we are painting someone, you know, and without any substantiated evidence to the honorable members here. We can't deal with gossip here. Thank you, Chair.
Then you just say you disagree with that statement, and we move forward. Honorable Malem.
No, Chair. They're raising a serious issue. If the witness is not sure, instead of you asking them to say they disagree with the statement, you should ask the witness to withdraw that. Because he cannot just come here and then say thumbs-up things here. If he's not sure, the only way to close this matter is that he withdraws that and then we move forward. Because he's not sure if it's Honorable Colin who posted that. And to cast aspersion on our fellow member and then we just pass like that, it is unfair. So if the witness is not prepared to produce any evidence to that effect and is not sure, can we please request to withdraw that allegation?
Chairman, I'm going to go back to the person that showed me and see if I can get a screen grab or something of that nature. And if I can't get that, I'll withdraw the statement I made. Is that acceptable?
No, the statement is withdrawn. What you are sharing with us now is information, it's not evidence.
Okay, the statement is withdrawn.
It only becomes evidence when you can substantiate it. Advocate Aremse.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So, Mr. O'Sullivan, your application for a work permit had been refused.
I don't even remember.
Well, that's what you say in your letter.
Yes, but I can't, we're talking about 42 years ago. I just can't remember. As good and everything as my memory is, I can't remember what happened 42 years ago.
And you were then given some details of yourself and copies of your certificates and references.
I can't remember.
So can we have sight of these certificates and references that you enclosed with this application at the time?
If we can get them from the person that supplied these documents, I would be happy to do so, but I cannot remember, Chairman, what certificates and application or whatever the case may be. So I really can't assist if I can't remember.
Now, when were you given South African permanent residency?
I think it was 1989, November or December or October. It was late 89.
And at the time, of course, we were then still not a democratic country. And would what you have said in your letter that we discussed, would it have still been the case that you love this country? Because it's a Christian country.
So I love
They know Christian.
Chairman, I love the country. In 1989, I loved the country because of the nature of the people in the country. And I had some good friends here, and I liked the weather, and there were business opportunities.
Now, I asked you earlier about whether you said you had been to Indonesia, but you had no interaction or connection or association with the Rhodesian police or security forces.
Yeah, before we move to Rhodesia, may we take Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I consider the year that which Mr. O'Sullivan became a citizen very important for the proceedings of this ad hoc committee. It is quite astonishing that he doesn't seem to be remembering anything. Was the SC is trying to bring to his attention a letter where some Mr. Watterson wrote to the Internal Affairs in respect of his application for citizenship in 1982. But he seems not to remember even the fact that they said is going to be useful to the white community in South Africa. I want to propose, Chair, that can the committee take on its accord right to the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs, just for a confirmation of the year at which Mr. O'Sullivan became a citizen of the Republic of South Africa, so that we can be able to draw it closer to where may he perhaps make applications to be permanent. Thank you.
Honorable Malema.
Yeah, I fully agree with that suggestion, but also we must be given the motivation why he was given that citizenship. We must check if learning Afrikaans was the only criteria which was followed or what.
Yeah, remember Honorable Watterson at the time also motivated that he will be of good use to the white community in the Republic. So we will write that letter to check what was the motivation that was made for his acquisition of citizenship and inquire whether the Afrikaans qualification was, how important was that Afrikaans qualification? I'm not seeing any further hands, honorable members. My assumption is that you want us to proceed. Are you done with your consultations? The two advocates. You are very quiet today, Advocate Mokhais. I miss your voice.
He's agreeing with us, yeah.
Okay, can we proceed?
Mr. O'Sullivan, was Mr. Frank Martin Bureau of State Security operative?
No, Chairman. He was the MEC for transport and horse racing in Natal, what was then called Natal.
So you do remember that clearly?
Yes, he was a friend, but I don't recall this fellow Watterson, and I don't. I've never seen that letter before in my life. By the way, I never said to anybody, "I'll be a useful contribution to the white community." I would never have made such a statement.
But you did?
I didn't.
No, in your handwritten letter.
I did? I don't recall having said that. I don't recall having said that.
You certainly mentioned that you want to learn to speak Afrikaans.
Yeah, I may have said that, but I don't recall having said that I would like to contribute to the white community.
You said you had already applied for a course in Afrikaans and I want to completely integrate with the South African way of life.
Yeah, but did I say that I wanted to contribute to the white community? I wouldn't have said that. And the reason I wouldn't have said that is because I'm firmly anti-racist. So there's no way I would have said, I want to contribute to the white community. It just wouldn't have happened.
Well, you said that you want to completely integrate into the South African way of life. What was the South African way of life in 1982? For us, what we had to have today, and I'm not giving evidence,
Yes.
it's just a fact, was seemingly light years away. And for most of us, we said it will never happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, so I wasn't.
So you were thinking specifically of a white,
South African
racist-dominated society at the time,
Mm.
and you wanted to integrate into this way of life by specifically learning to speak Afrikaans, when arguably, I do remember, I'm old enough to remember MP Watterson was one of the English-speaking MPs.
So, in my view, the South African way of life in those days was nice weather, outside activities, boating, swimming,
Braaivleis,
pardon?
braaivleis,
All
rugby.
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was not interested in contributing to, for example, apartheid or anything of that nature. That wouldn't have been anything that I would have been interested in.
No. Mr. Sullivan, that is directly in contradiction to your own handwritten letter, which says that it would break your heart if you were not granted the status because you want to integrate into this society.
So I think,
In a white-dominated society,
Yeah.
apartheid, separate development, forced removals, separate education, group areas, homelands.
in my 20s, at that stage of my life, I didn't even understand all of that. What was that? In those days, I didn't understand all of that. I didn't even know the existence of a group areas. Of course, I know about it now. I had no knowledge. I had some knowledge, but I didn't have full knowledge of all the things that were going on. And had I have become a citizen at that stage, I would have helped contribute.
Are you saying you were naive?
Pardon?
Are you saying that you were naive?
No, I'm not saying I was naive, but had I have,
Well, then it's worse.
what do you mean it's worse?
If you can say, I'm young and naive, I didn't really understand politics, I just wanted to do.
I'm not now naive. I thought you meant, are you naive? Then I probably was naive.
Yeah, well, but in 1982, you were already an electrical engineer. You were a learned person, certainly more learned than the average person, I would say. I would think, even in England.
Yes, possibly so. But when you're in your 20s, you have a different view on life as you would have later in life.
So what I want to drive to is that you were at this stage then recruited.
By who?
By the security agency of this country at the time.
Not a chance. Absolutely none whatsoever. Frank Martin wasn't involved. Actually, I knew Frank Martin very well. He was a train driver before the war. And then during the war, he became a prisoner of war and he shared space with my late father. And after the war, he got back into driving trains.
But and then, Mr. Sullivan, sorry, you're not trying to minimize and trivialize what is really a serious situation that a letter is even addressed, which seems to be based on information given, false information, to the Director General of the Interior Ministry of this country at the time. Now you're trivializing, Frank Martin was just a train driver, met you in the ex-service, presumably just to drink beer, and you were a young 20-odd-year-old naive.
I'm not
but this is a completely different impression we got from your affidavit, in the early part of your affidavit, and the narrative that you've given us. Certainly, when consulting and when reading it, this is a fairly well-heeled, well-educated person coming from the UK. We can't complain when people want to invest their money in our country, buying, creating jobs for our people. But that's not the impression that one now gets when you read this letter and the application for permanent residence or even to become an immigrant?
I don't even have time filling in any forms. So I wrote a 2-page handwritten letter, the typewritten letter I'd never seen before in my life. Yeah, it is what it is.
And you know what also then strikes one with looking at your background from this viewpoint and different viewpoint is within the space of a year, you decide to become a police reservist.
I was asked to become a police reservist.
Who is this Major Edwards?
He was the husband of my then secretary. I mean, if I could track him down, I don't even know him now.
Did you not look at his background? Well, it could be because this is one reads about or sees in a movie. He could have been involved in the security services. He could have been a boss. You remember that word, boss? Bureau of State Security? Yes. So he could have been such an operative.
So his wife was my secretary. He was the station commander at Halfway House Police Station. And this suggestion that I should become a police reservist took place after the democratization process had started in South Africa. And that democratization process is what triggered me to take a decision to apply for permanent residence, because I felt that I didn't want to live in a country where apartheid existed. I took up the opportunity or the request to become a police reservist after Nelson Mandela had been released from prison and the ANC had been unbanned. And I saw opportunities. I thought there will be good opportunities to help make a democratic country. And I played my part. In fact, you can get on the phone now and speak to the erstwhile president, Kgalema Motlanthe, and ask him who came to see him in Shell House, which was then the headquarters of the ANC. Ask him who came to see him in Shell House to notify him of the existence of a game farm in the Northwest Province, where some very strange things were going on. You can phone him and ask him.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I
That
do have
game
a
farm,
lot
by
of
the way,
respect
is
for
now known as
Honorable Mr. Motlanthe. I'm not going to ask you that because I don't want to be distracted from what I'm asking you.
Okay.
Because this could easily fit into the narrative of someone who has infiltrated either the security forces or other intelligence forces in our country, that you would have had such meetings. You would have gone to Shellas. You would have met these important persons whose names you are dropping. But what I want to ask you about, because this is not what you say in your affidavit. Can I take you to paragraph 14 of your affidavit? In 1990, my secretary's husband, a certain Major Edwards in the SAPS, having heard of my background, persuaded me to join the South African Police Reserve. I took the view that if a country is good enough to live in, it's good enough to serve. In 1990, I joined SAPS as a reserve at the Halfway House, now Midrand, where I completed training as a detective. As a reservist, I was required to donate approximately 8 hours per week of my time at no cost to the SAPS. Now, this is some 8 years later, after you wrote a letter to a member of parliament at the time, who in turn wrote to the Director General of Internal Affairs, pleading for this young person, this young man, to be given immigrant status. Because it'll break his heart if he must go back to England. He wants to stay here and learn Afrikaans. He wants to integrate with a Christian white community.
I never said I wanted to integrate with the Christian white community.
That's what your letter says, Mr.
No, my letter
I'm paraphrasing, but that's what
my letter doesn't say that. I'm
well,
sorry.
then I'll be disciplined if I'm misrepresenting what you're saying.
It's a misunderstanding of what I'm saying. I never stated that I wanted to integrate into a Christian white community.
Well, it's clearly to be inferred from what you're saying, from the language that you use. And I don't want to waste further time
Chairman,
by reading back.
at the time I emigrated to the country, I'd completely forgotten about this letter of 8 years or 9 years earlier. It was gone from my mind. In fact, I can't remember the year, but it was either 87 or 88 when my dear Frank Martin, God rest his soul, passed away. And it was the furthest thing from my mind.
You see what will also strike one, and obviously the honorable committee members and members of the public will make up their own minds. But certainly what struck me is that your role as a police reservist and what you did is one of two things. It is highly commendable for the time and effort that you've given to assisting our regular police in doing their law enforcement job. It's either that, or on the other hand, this is most extraordinary for a police reservist to be trained as a detective, to achieve an award for the most arrests, to be trained to do a trainer course and train 1,000, what did you say, 1,500 other reservists to graduate and to get their certificate, including our honorable president. So you have quite some notable students under your belt. You worked, and I'm looking at paragraph 16. You worked in the fraud unit at the then John Foster Square. You, as you know, was notorious. You lectured.
My goodness, Paul is trapped. He's trapped in this vicious circle, and he just can't find his way out. He can't bully his way out. He is stuck, and senior counsel is not letting it go. I have to end this video right here. Thank you so much to everybody who joined the live highlights from the ad hoc committee. I'll be back, of course, with uploads of further highlights throughout the day. They're dragging out, okay? They're dragging out, and I want to go have lunch. And yeah, they're dragging. It's dragging. So now I'm just going to wait for the next highlights because they're stretching the stories too long. I can't wait for the question and answer session to begin. That is going to be epic. It is going to be epic, and it's going to be so interesting to just hear Paul O'Sullivan continuously try to get himself out of the loophole that he's stuck in. The question I ask myself is, having listened to him now, is like, you know what? Thank you to whoever put the hearing aid on him, because wow, everything has improved. At least he's not pretending not to hear. But at least that's what it looked like. But now he's on board. He can hear clearly now. So basically, what I have to say is, yeah, Paul O'Sullivan has more questions than he thought he was going to answer. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting, and he hasn't lost his temper yet, and he also hasn't walked out either. So definitely a developing story. What a day. Let me know what your highlight was. I'm going to end this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like. Please like the video before you leave. Hit that like button. It definitely helps the video. It gives the video mileage, and it helps the channel grow as well. I'll catch you on the next highlight. Bye.